During my vacation, holiday time, break from YouTube, whatever you want to call it, earlier in August, I had a lot of time to think about my life and what I was and wasn't doing, and what I wanted to do going forward. There were many things that I told myself, but the biggest one of them all was I want to play more games. I felt I'd been wrapped up in constantly making videos, playing and focusing on just one game, specifically Destiny. And as someone who loves variety, it was slowly sucking my enjoyment out of everything, and just making constant videos all the time wasn't something I was happy with. So I decided to make a committed effort to playing more games, but also to talk about them in a casual way with no need for reviews, to kind of put it onto the channel. And this is what inspired this series. So to kick it all off, we have the games that made my September 2024. Over the course of September, I played 4 games specifically, and the first of those is Star Wars Outlaws. Now, I did do a review of this on the channel, and the thing with Star Wars Outlaws that I enjoyed the most of is what they were trying to achieve with the story and the setup of the world. I enjoyed the fact that we had another Star Wars game that we didn't need to have force powers in, or the extra addition of any major players in the franchise. We did get to see Lando at a certain point throughout the game. He's one of the experts, and there's going to be like a story DLC that we can dive into with that. I think there was a lot of potential for Star Wars Outlaws to be better. I do think it was lacking in terms of its overall gameplay and fleshed out systems. It could have been a lot better than it was, and I think I mentioned it in my review that it did feel like a very much early, like 360 PlayStation 3 game in terms of what it was doing as a third-person stealth game. And the thing that's frustrating the most, I suppose, especially with Ubisoft, is that they've made great stealth games before. They have people at the studio I'm still considering that have worked on stealth games, and there was a lot of stealth in this, and it was kind of poor. Now, in terms of other gameplay elements of the game, I don't know really what else. Like, it was kind of a by the numbers thing as well, which is why it's not necessarily reviewed very well, and also done well in terms of selling anything. It's currently only just hit 1 million sales, which is why Ubisoft's currently on fire at the moment. And I mean, just to kind of get back into the game itself, I think that it has a lot more to offer, especially with its story DLCs. And I think with the lens on it right now, it's definitely being scrutinized. And I think every game, as soon as it gets scrutinized at the moment, especially with the being a Star Wars game and being a Ubisoft game as well, that the lens is definitely burning hot on those games. And I think we'll look back at this a little bit more fondly, very much how you look back at Jedi Fallen Order, or even Jedi Survivor, that had an awful launch, but we look back on that and I still really enjoyed that game. Enjoyed my time with Star Wars Outlaws. I think I clocked something like 25 to 30 hours, and I could have spent more time, but I didn't really want to. And I suppose that's probably one of the core issues with the game, is that some things that you really want to do, once you've experienced them, there's no real motivation to go back and look and go and see what other secrets you can go and find are. But yeah, Star Wars Outlaws, I had fun with it. I definitely enjoyed it, put it out on the channel. Don't know whether I could recommend it or not, as I've said in my review, but hey, it was one of the games that I played towards the start. I actually started playing it like at the end of August, and then it kind of bled into September purely because I got back off holiday and then I was working on the review. So yeah, it counts as a game that I played in September. Let me know the games you played in September, and subscribe down below if you want to see more content like this. This also does count as well, because I started playing it on my Steam Deck in the last couple of days of August, and it kind of extended into September as well. And I was playing it parallel to Star Wars Outlaws, and that's Diablo 4. Now, we are only a couple of days away from the new expansion. I believe as this video is going live, a bunch of reviews have gone out for it, and it's doing pretty decently across the board, 8s and 9s out of 10. Not that I'm putting too much salt into early codes, because it's one of those games that you need to have a lot of people playing it to kind of get the general consensus, the wider community, because critics can play the game, but they may not have been playing every single update that the game has had over the last year. So people that have been definitely playing all of that stuff and then had the chance to check out the game, hopefully it's doing well there. But I haven't checked out any of those yet. But the reason why I decided to play Diablo 4 is because I wanted to check out the new season that they'd had. Like, it had been live for maybe like 2 or 3 weeks at that point. I also wanted to try it out on Steam Deck, which it absolutely crushes on. I absolutely love this, and it gets me so addicted to use my Steam Deck a lot more. I need to use my Steam Deck in general, and this is the game that I use it for, because Diablo 4 is one of those games, at least for me when I went back to it, that I can sit in front of a PC and play it, but if I was to sit in front of a console on like a beanbag or like on a sofa, something like that, or in bed, it's the perfect game to just lose hours to. I would often get on at like 7 p.m. and because I've hurt myself, I'm currently injured at the moment, ruptured my Achilles, I can't really move. So from 7 p.m. in my bed till 3 a.m., 4 a.m., I've lost track of time, and I've killed thousands and thousands of monsters with Diablo 4. I've really enjoyed all of the changes that they've had, especially to the loot systems, the change into the leveling, which they're changing again, the buffs and nerfs that I've seen for a lot of stuff. The new tempering system is great as well. The itemization in the game is so much better than previous, especially at launch, and it feels like I'm looking for specific things and chasing things a little bit more meaningfully now, at least from coming back to the game, and they're going to be doing that a whole lot more, and I'm really excited for the new expansion because I want to try out the Spiritborn and Buildcraft with them, see what I can come up with. But then there's also a whole change in the leveling system. They're updating how you get loot in certain areas, like endgame areas of the game, and they've kind of streamlined it, but they've changed the entire Paragon system. So playing through some of the classes when I knew that they were doing this, it was why I didn't want to go ultra hard into playing Diablo 4, and that's why when this expansion comes out, you're probably going to hear me talking about it as part of a update video when we do one of these at the end of October. So yeah, Diablo 4, one of those games that I really enjoyed checking out in the early parts of September. The next game is fresh in the memory, and that's Halo ODST. We played this last week or so, and the video is up on the channel already. Definitely go and check that out if you haven't already. And I really enjoyed jumping back into this game. It's been a long time since I've played a game that I can just be in an evening and be satisfied with the experience. If I didn't have to make a video on the game, I would have probably spent maybe a little bit extra time, or I would have gone and played some of the other Halos on top of that. I really feel like maybe Halo 3, Halo Reach, and ODST could like be bashed out in the space of like an entire weekend, which is so cool, especially if you've got the time. And I loved ODST for many of the reasons that I mentioned in my video, but one of them just always sticks out is that difference, like something that isn't a Spartan game that stands out to me. Like, we're not just playing as a Spartan. It's why I also really enjoy Halo Wars. I played the first one earlier this year, and this one definitely had that same type of vibe because you're not just playing as Chief. There's other facets of the Halo universe that have not been explored that I really think that Halo ODST, even though it's a first-person shooter, so it's kind of the same deal, it explores a different narrative, it explores some different potential, and I would like to see that more. You know, like I said, like a horror game would be so cool with like the flood involved when you're playing as a Marine, and whether you play as like a third-person, first-person perspective. There's also some stuff that they could do the Covenant side. But yeah, ODST, you know, it took me around about 4 hours or so to beat on the normal difficulty, and I just had a blast. It was kind of just going back to when I was 11, 12 years old, playing through those games again, and you know, it makes me feel old, definitely, playing it. But yeah, I definitely recommend if you're feeling a bit jaded with the current state of games right now, go and load up an old game, whether or not you have it on Steam or Game Pass or whatever it is. Just go and do that, because I think you'll have an absolute amazing time, because it gives you a fresh perspective on the game and why you enjoy it more. Like, I feel like I enjoy Reach so much more going back and playing it so much later in my life, and I've done that with a lot of films, and I'm starting to do it with games as well, and it's actually paying off very well. The fourth and final game that I played in the month of September was Space Marine 2. I absolutely adore this game. It was my most anticipated game coming in, and it didn't disappoint. I especially enjoyed playing the PvE mode that you could just leave on in the background as you played, and you didn't have to like concentrate too much or lock in. You could just have some fun grinding. The PvP was fantastic and still is. I haven't checked out it since the update, so whether or not they changed the balancing a little bit as well, but from what I've seen and what I played throughout my time in September, it was a joy. I talked about it on the channel about why it like is a flashback to those multiplayers that I really enjoyed from the early or late 2000s, early 2010s. I also especially love the attention to detail in the world and the combat, the graphical things that there's just, I can't get the words out to talk about this game just on the fly because I loved it. It was the perfect game that I was waiting for in the 40k universe, and you could argue, at least I'm going to argue, that it's the best 40k game that we've had out of all the games that I've played. The only one I'm missing that I really need to check out, which I have sitting in my Steam library, is Rogue Trader. So that's like a 40 to like 100 hour worth time sink for an RPG. Space Marine 2 isn't that, and you know, the updates that they have planned for it, and especially with like how well the game sold, means that there's going to be a whole lot more Space Marine coming in the future. Granted, it is the Ultramarines and they're kind of boring, but that being said, we might have the Necrons show up at some point. We might also have more enemy types for the different factions that we have. There's a Horde mode coming. There's so much that they've got planned out for the next year or so, and it's not like I don't think it's a live service game in a sense, but it's like they've got those plans to kind of get people invested and keep playing the game. And I will be checking it out, especially when they do like their first season drop, because I know it's in like season 1 technically at the moment, but when they add like the new difficulty and the new mode, I think they're adding a new mode or like a new map and missions and stuff like that, I will be definitely playing Space Marine 2 some more. Not many games. I played about 4 in total that I fully completed. I did play a couple of demos and such on the side, but I'm definitely looking forward to October to hopefully increase that amount. That being said, the new Destiny season is dropping. The new Diablo expansion is dropping as well. I believe Windblown is also going into early access later on in the month that I do want to check out, which is the new game from the Dead Cells, or the former Dead Cells studio. Then we have Dragon Age Veilguard at the end of the month as well, and I have a plan of playing an older game in the middle of the month for a video as well that is more of an experiment that I'll keep that under wraps for the moment. But tell me what you played in September and what you plan on playing in October, because I'd love to know down in the comment section, discuss it back and forth on why we are doing this, and hopefully I'll see you in this next update around October time or early November when we jump into that. And I think I'll be like in the midst of a review for Dragon Age Veilguard at that point, but I'll probably put it on the list anyway. So that being said, thank you very much for watching the video. Like and subscribe as always, and this has been Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.